Guten Tag, fellow architects, designers, and those of you who have always dreamt of building castles with colored pencils. Today, we are diving deep into the board game Blueprints of Mad King Ludwig by Bezier Games and designed by the Mad King of Bezier Games himself, Ted Alspach. Prepare yourself with laughter, with scribbles, some groans when someone takes the room that you wanted really badly and now you have to shift focus, which you didn't want to do and you weren't planning on having to do it. And maybe have a madcap moment along the way. Sharpen your pencil, sharpen your mind, and see if you can impress the Mad King with your unique architectural design. Let's see how it plays. Welcome to a setup game of Blueprints of Mad King Ludwig. The object of Blueprints of Mad King Ludwig is to design the best castle for the Mad King Ludwig. And the way to win is to get the most points over 10 rounds by drafting and completing rooms, which means connecting all the room's entrances to other entryways. The game plays 1 to 5 players, and this is the setup for a 4-player game. We're going to have a set number of room cards in the game by player count. Then you reveal 2 more cards than the amount of players. So 6 here. These are cards we can draft each turn. They tell us the room type by color, how big they are by the number, and they may have a swan on them, which you fill out on your player sheets. The blue versus the white doesn't matter. It just helps you sketch in a mirror image. Out of the huge amount of King's Favors tokens, select 4 of them face up. You won't need any more for the rest of the game. These are ways to score at game's end. Their meanings are in the back of the rulebook. In this case, we have the total size of the downstairs room, the total amount of blue sleeping rooms, any rooms that we have drafted and colored in that are incomplete, and any size 6 rooms. Put the colored pencils in the middle of the table. They're going to be shared by everyone. Deal 2 of the bonus cards to everyone. You can look at yours, but keep them a secret from everyone else. These are hidden scoring opportunities you may be able to score at the end of the game. Everyone gets their own very useful reference sheet that's double-sided. Everyone will get their own player sheet to sketch on and a sketch panel to put the sketch pad sheet into. I only put the top 2 corners in for accessibility reasons when I need to sketch. Your sketch pad sheet's size starts with the smallest green square outline. Then shuffle the Royal Decree deck and deal 2 more cards than the amount of players. The player to the right of the start player takes a Royal Decree they want and passes the deck to their right. Everyone drafts a Royal Decree, and once everyone has done so, reveal them all. These are starting powers and or bonuses that only you will be getting for the game. Starting with the start player and going to the left, everyone announces a room color and fills in the foyer of their sketch sheet with that color. Then fill in the first swan on your player board in the color that you just used. It reminds you to do so on the foyer room of your design. Then the actual game will start with the start player. Every other round will start with the player with the largest size of room on top of each player's room pile, down to the smallest room size. These piles will be created as you play the game. If tied, you use the next card down in your deck. If you get to where you have no cards underneath to look at, then ties are broken by turn order from the start of the game. Don't worry if you have the smallest size room on top of your room pile deck and go last, because you get to fill in a go last circle on your player sheet, which will eventually get you a reward. Each player will do the following steps. Once they're done, the next player will do the same, and so on. They're pretty intuitive, so it's really easy to remember. And if you forget, it's on your player aid sheet. First, a player will draft 1 of the face-up room cards from the market. Second, take the matching colored pencil and sketch the room. Third, if you have a swan on the card you just drafted like we do here, fill in 1 of the swans on your player sheet in the color of the room you just sketched. Fourth, if you completed a room, which we didn't do, but let's pretend we did, color in the circle at the bottom of a flag on your player sheet in the matching color of the room that was completed. This shows you've earned that room's reward. You'll fill in the flag once you use the reward, which you can do anytime during your turn. Last, take the card and place it face up on top of your room card pile. If it's the first round of the game, It'll be the card that starts your room card pile. Then the end of round phase happens. Here we're going to discard any room cards left in the market to a room reserve pile, which is like a discard pile, next to the deck. Then we're going to determine the new turn order by the size of the room on top of your personal card pile, as explained earlier. And again, the last player who had the smallest room in their player card pile will fill in the go last circle at the top of their player sheet for going last this coming turn. Then refill the new rooms for the next round with the same amount of cards you started with at the beginning of the game. So in a 4-player game, that's going to be 6 cards. One important gameplay note. Once per game, you can skip your turn, which unlocks a special reward at the top of your player sheet. You can skip as many turns as you like, but you will only unlock the reward once per game. What are the sketching rules in the game? First, take a card that you've drafted and line it up to where you want it under your sketch sheet. You can sketch from the white side or the blue side. They're just mirror images of itself. And you can rotate the card by 90 degrees in any direction. Use the grid in the blueprint sheet to help you line up the rooms well. You have to connect one entrance in the new room to an entrance from another room, including your starting foyer. You have to sketch your new room within the lot size boundaries, the green lines on your blueprint sheet. Your lot size will start as a 9x9 grid, and it can grow up to a 13x13 grid with some unlocks. You can block any entrance on your new room or old room, but just note that you may never be able to complete that room unless you earn and use a reward that fixes that. You can't overlap an existing room or moat. Moats, you say? Don't worry, I'll get to those soon. Once you've created your first downstairs room, the gray colored rooms, you can only connect new downstairs rooms to at least one downstairs entrance that you already have in your castle blueprint. And last, if you don't have a legal spot to add a room, you're not allowed to draft that room and must take a different one. If for some reason you didn't plan too well and none of the rooms in the market fit in your blueprint, it would be a good time to pass and get that passing reward. If you already passed, you'll need to pass again, but you won't get that reward this time. When you complete a room, it gets you an earned reward that you can use, which I will go over all of them next, and it will score you victory points at the end of the game. The room is complete when all of the entrances of one room connect to other entrances, like we did here in this green room and the 3 entrances in that red room. If an entrance leads to nowhere, like this purple one, or is blocked by another room's wall, like that purple one, it's not considered complete. If you use a power that removes an entrance, that entrance is officially removed and does not need to be connected to complete the room. So what are those bonuses when you complete a room? First off are the special rewards located at the top of your player sheet. Everyone starts with the start reward earned at the beginning of the game. Hey, you're playing Blueprints of Mad King Ludwig. You deserve it. You fill 1 in when you skip a turn, and every time you go last, you'll fill in 1 circle. When you filled in your 3rd circle or your 6th circle, then you have earned the special go last reward. Anytime during your turn, you can fill in a flag of an earned special reward and either use the reward of any of the room types in the game. If you do that, fill in the flag with the matching room color, or you can fill in a swan on your own player sheet's moat track. The yellow rooms are food rooms. When you complete this room, you get an extra turn for your reward. You must take the extra turn at the end of this current round. You play out a turn like normal. Draft a card from the market, sketch it into your blueprint, then the card goes on top of your personal room card pile, as it will be the size room that determines your turn order for the next turn. If you use another reward on top of it, you can combo it like the rewards that let you take a card from the reserve instead of the market. If multiple people use the extra turn reward in the same round, you'll go in the same turn order you did at the beginning of the round. You can also use your skip during the extra turn, which still allows you to fill in your skip turn reward circle if it hasn't been filled in yet. If there are no cards left in the market, and you don't have the reward that lets you take one from the reserve pile, then you must skip. The blue rooms are sleeping rooms. When you complete this type of room, you earn the move reward entrance. Fill the circle on the blue track. Then you can use this reward when you sketch a new room. You can sketch any new room's entrances in different locations than where they are, marked on the room card. If you use this reward, like always, remember to fill in the flag. The new entrance walls must be on an orthogonal facing wall, and it cannot be on a slanted or curved wall. You can't add more rooms or take away rooms from what you already have on the card. You're just shuffling around where the entrances are, so to speak. So if the room like here started with 3 entrances, after you are done moving entrances that you want to, you still have to have 3 entrances in the room. This can only be used on a new room you are entering to a blueprint, not one that's already completed. Gray rooms are downstairs rooms. When you complete a downstairs room, earn the reward of building a secret passage in a room at any time during your turn. Remember, downstairs rooms must be connected to other downstairs rooms once you have created your first one. If you can't do so, then you can't draft a downstairs room. To create a secret passage, take any orthogonal wall, take the gray pencil or a different dark colored pencil, and create a new entrance by sketching 1 on top of the colored room. Then sketch another entrance directly adjacent to the first one, where your secret passage will go to, and fill in both passages. You can sketch a secret passage over another entrance, like here. And if you do that, the entrance is considered removed and you don't need to have it completed for that room to be completed. The secret passage can but does not need to lead to another room. It can lead to an empty space as long as it's in the confines of your green lot lines and doesn't lead to a moat. If leading to an empty space, you can later add a room to the secret passage, as the passages can connect to the entrance of the new room you place. I'll speak about courtyards later, but the secret passage can lead to a courtyard, like I did here. And that will be the courtyard's entrance. And since it doesn't need to be completed, it won't penalize you for being an incomplete room. Purple rooms are living rooms. When you complete a living room, you earn the Remove Entrance reward. You can use the reward immediately or save it for a different turn. When you use it, you get to fill in an entrance in any room that isn't connected yet, like I'm going to do in this foyer here. Fill it in with the same color as the room to make it a wall. This is no longer an entrance and no longer needs to be completed to complete the room. And here we just finished the foyer. This one's connected to the outside room. This one just got removed, and this one has a secret passage, and thus removed that entrance as well. Red rooms are activity rooms. When you complete an activity room, you can draft a card from the reserve pile instead of the mark it on your turn. You can also use this power during an extra turn you may have earned by completing a food room. Any player can look through the reserve pile at any time, so it makes it quicker when they decide to use this red power. Green rooms are outdoor rooms. When you complete an outdoor room, you get to increase your lot size. You can do this immediately or on a future turn. So right here, I'm right up against my lot line, and I might want to expand that, so simply fill in a flag on the side of your blueprint that connects to a green line. And you can ignore that green line for the rest of the game. Completed green rooms score differently than other rooms at the end of the game, and I'll go over that when I talk about scoring. Orange rooms are utility rooms. When you complete a utility room, you earn the reward of drawing 2 bonus cards and score any one of them at the end of the game. Remember those bonus cards dealt to you at the beginning of the game? You don't get to score either of those until you complete at least 1 orange utility. So the first orange reward that you've earned and then decide to use, you will draw 2 more bonus cards, so having 4 in total. But you'll only get to score 1 of them at the end of the game. When you earn a second orange reward, you'll draw 2 more bonus cards, now having 6 bonus cards in total in hand, but only scoring your top 2 at the end of the game, and etc., etc. If the bonus deck ever runs out when you want to draw some, you can't. The deck is finite, but you still will be able to score 1 or more cards at the end of the game. Moats are not part of the room deck, so you don't get those by completing rooms. Instead, you earn a moat after filling in 4 swans. Remember, you get swans by taking cards with swans on them or using special rewards to fill in a swan. When you decide to sketch a moat, which can be immediately or at a later time, take the turquoise pencil and fill in a row or column of the length of your choosing. It has to follow all the placement rules of rooms, except moats don't need to be connected to an entrance. So we could do something like this because we already extended our lot out there, and we'll go right up to where our lot goes up on the north side there. And there is our moat. The moat does have to be fully within our lot. After sketching the moat, fill in all unfilled room entrances adjacent to the moat. These are no longer entrances and aren't considered when checking to see if you have completed a room or not. This may make it so 1 or more rooms just got completed, gaining those rewards too. Once you've filled in all 8 of your swans, you can't get more moats. So at most you'll have 2 moats at the end of the game. Back to courtyards, as I mentioned earlier. Courtyards are completely enclosed empty spaces that have at least 1 entrance leading to it. This can include a secret passage entrance like we have here. This one is not a courtyard because there is no entrance leading to it as of now. You do not get a reward for completing a courtyard. The deck's going to run out during round 10. Finish up round 10 and then the game is almost over. If you have any special or completion rewards that you haven't used yet, you can still use them now. That is including moat rewards. Resolve all end of game rewards in turn order. Once everyone's completed any rewards they may have wanted to use, you go to game scoring as the game is now officially over. This is what a blueprint might look like at the end of the game. If you used any special reward as a utility reward, which is the orange ones, fill in one of the boxes with the score you earned from one of your bonus cards. In this case, we didn't do that, so just 0 points. For every completed room, minus outdoor rooms and utility rooms, count the number of filled in circles and multiply it by the multiplier for the given track. You'll see it's the top 5 rooms on the player sheet. So filled in circles for the food rooms, you multiply by 4. Filled in circles for the activity rooms, the red ones, you're going to multiply by 8. As you see this person did here. 3 yellow rooms were filled in, so they got 12 points. 1 blue room was filled in, they got 5 points. 1 gray room, 1 purple room, and 1 red room gave them 6, 7, and 8, respectively. For completed outdoor rooms, the green ones, for every adjacent empty space on their blueprint, you're going to gain 2 points. As you can see, we're marked on the outside of edge there. For every half adjacent empty space, you gain 1 point like they did right here. Moats will score 2 points for each room that's fully behind the length of it. Behind means in towards the foyer of the home, not outside of the lot lines. So as you can see here, they counted every completed room below their moat and scored 30 points. For every completed utility room, the orange ones, select a bonus card that wasn't selected yet and fill in its points. So here they only got 1 completed, so that means they get to score 1 and just 1 of their 4 potential bonus cards that they've earned, and they scored 20 points. For every completed courtyard, gain 10 points. They have 4 completed courtyards in their blueprint, so they scored 40 points. You get points for your castle size, so count up the size of all the rooms in your personal room pile and enter the score right here, 57. Some royal decree cards that you start the game with allow you to score points at the end of the game. If it did, fill it in right here, like they did, with 13 points. For each of the 4 king's favors, you get points on where you rank for each favor. First gets you 15 points, second 8, third 4, fourth 1, and if you're playing with 5 players, 5th would get you 0 points. Also, if you do not have any qualifying items for that favor, you're going to score 0 points as well. And you fill those in right at the bottom of your sheet here and total them the 4 up there. Add up all your points, and the most victory points has created the best zany castle for Mad King Ludwig and has won the game. So the tiebreakers are a little mad themselves. In case of a tie, the largest castle wins. The next tiebreaker is the most victory points from the king's favors. Then it's the most completed rooms. Then it's the fewest used rewards, so the least amount of flags filled in. And if somehow you have had the 1 in a million chance that you're still tied, the first tied player to grab the eraser wins. Seriously, that's what it says in the rulebook. Or just call it a tie game, which is my unofficial variant. There is a solo mode to the game. It plays almost the exact same way as the multiplayer. You start with 30 room cards in this deck on the table. If a king favor or royal decree has a symbol of a person X'd out on it, redraw it. You don't use those ones. And only put 3 cards into the market each round. And upon final scoring, when it comes to scoring the king's favors, you compare your results to the reserve pile. If you do outright better than the reserve pile, you get 15 victory points for each favor. But if you tie or the reserve pile does better than you get 0 victory points. And then at the very end, they give you a chart to see how well you did for your solo game. That's it for Blueprints of Mad King Ludwig. Let's go back to the table to hear what I think of the game.
Hey, welcome back. So now that you know how to make these blueprints of your own, what do I think of the game? First off, this is like the 5th game in the Mad King Ludwig series, if you include the one collector's edition. So I've only played the OG Castles of Mad King Ludwig, and it's hard not to compare the blueprints of Mad King Ludwig to castles, but I actually think it needs to be compared in a way. However, I am still going to give you an objective review of the positives and negatives of blueprints by itself as well. So let's start with that. The rule book for Blueprints is really easy to learn and teach from. Bezier Games is usually pretty strong with their rule books, and they have their own unique style of them, but they usually work really well. And in this case, in Blueprints, it does. The components of the game are really good. The transparent paper is really neat and thematic. The card quality and chip quality are really good. The cards are linen finish. The pencils haven't broken any of their tips yet. And if it does, it comes with a sharpener and an eraser, which is really good touches, even though I don't even know if the erasers work with color pencils. Overall, though, it's really great production value. The whole process of the game makes sense, and it's really intuitive. And at the rare times when you need to look up a detail because you forgot how a reward works or the order of the phases, it's all laid out super nicely in the player aids that is given to every player, and you won't have to go look back into the rule book much once you've learned the rules. This is not a combo-tastic verb and verb style game, which makes it pretty relaxing. Every once in a while you will set off like a 3 reward combo in a turn, but it's few and far between. The game's just about so many other things than just comboing, like most verb and verb style games are. And as I just mentioned, it's a relaxing game, and you get to color in the game, which is just like unique and is a very relaxing thing in general. Coloring is relaxing. People like to color. So that adds to just the overall vibe of the game to begin with. So getting more into specific mechanisms, I love the utility room rewards, where you start with the bonus cards, but you need to complete the utility rooms to be able to start to score any of the bonus cards that you have. That's like a super unique mechanism. And I can't think of a game where you get your end game bonus scoring cards, but they may not even activate at all to score you any points that you have from them and you have to earn it. You have to earn it to score those cards. That's like just crazy. It's really cool. It's a really cool idea that Ted Alspach came up with. Then I like how the lots in the game grow. So you have, as we've shown before, you have to build up to get more space for your castle. And if you don't, you're just going to run out of room. You'll get in a huge jam that way, and you won't have anywhere to put in new rooms in your castle. And actually, like a whole lot of stuff in this game gets you in a jam if you don't have the right rewards available to use. It always feels like, oh, I just wish I had this one reward that I need so I can use it right now in this very specific this very specific moment, and I don't have the reward. And then I desperately try to draft that kind of room and then complete the room so I can get the reward, but at the same time, that room might not get me work well with the bonuses, the king's bonuses and my personal private bonuses. So there's that whole tension there. And you're always trying to complete rooms in the game. It's the main drive of the game, but the tension lies in all that other stuff that's going on in the game. I was afraid about drawing in this game. I thought I had a free hand, all the rooms at first, before I opened up the box. And you can do that, but I think it would be really difficult. And the tracing is just super easy for like any adult with any drawing skill level. It's like really easy for anyone to do. The solo game in this in Blueprints is just like the main game. It's quick, it's easy to play through, and it's just a good little solo game. Will take like 15-20 minutes to bust through that game. The strategy of Blueprints lies in how do you want to get points? Do you want to go for large rooms? Do you want to try to get points for your private secret bonus or the public king's bonuses? Do you just want to try to complete a lot of rooms to score? Do you want to try to create lots of courtyards to get $10 a pop for every courtyard that you finished? There's just a lot of variety in that. It's not like a Stefan Feld game where you're like, every way you look, there's points, but there's still a lot of choices of how to chase points in this game. There's also a lot of replayability in the game, due to not only the random card draws each round or your starting decree and bonuses, but there are so many King's favorite tokens in the game, like just tons of them. I think there's 35 of them. So you'd have to play 52,360 games of Mad King Ludwig, blueprints of Mad King Ludwig, before you played every combination of King's Favors. Yes, I did do the math on that. There are some negatives in the game. The main one is these transparent sheets. It looks great. It's like blueprints. It's super thematic, and it's like wonderful that they give you the white background piece to put under it to help see better. But however, it's really hard to see the rooms even in good lighting, even with that white sheet behind it. The yellow color is nearly impossible to see, and even more so when you're looking for the room entrances on the yellow. So I thought, okay, I'll just outline those with a pen, and that will make it easier to see, but the pen tips are hard, so they actually imprint through the paper here and make divots in the white sheet that goes behind it. So what we ended up doing was outlining any yellow room with gray first, which worked, but it shouldn't have been needed to do that in the first place. A fine point marker may do the trick. I just haven't tried that yet to see if it does. I don't know if the ink will spread too much or not, but that could work too. I wish they changed the yellow color to something like brown, just so it would get a little bit more pop to it, a little bit easier to see. But I get that they want to keep all of those yellow sleep rooms or whatever they are together, because they want to keep them the same throughout all of the Mad King Ludwig series, which makes sense. It's just a bit of a shame because it is hard to see. So the rest of the negatives is more of a comparison to Castles of Mad King Ludwig for me. And first, if I like two games, I'm almost always going to prefer the game with more meat on its bone than the lighter games. So I have this innate bias towards Castles of Mad King Ludwig over Blueprints of Mad King Ludwig. Because Blueprints is a lighter game overall, it took out some of the elements of Castles that I really enjoyed. There's no room adjacency stuff, scoring and stuff going on. There's you don't get that just the cool tile layout at the end of the game. My favorite mechanism from Castles is where somebody gets each turn to set the room prices on the tiles, and then you have to pay that if you take that room. That's gone. It's nowhere to be seen in Blueprints at all. Because they streamlined the mechanisms to fit a flip and sketch style game, it just loses some of the deeper strategies that Castles had in it. There's just less to think about as you're playing Blueprints. The biggest letdown to Blueprints for me was that all the whimsy and zaniness of Castles seems like it's just missing in Blueprints. When I finished a game of Castles, I'd always go and look at my castle at the end, win or lose. It was my favorite thing to do, was just start at my foyer and look off all the spokes of it and see what room goes to what crazy bonker rooms next. Like I may have a singer's chamber that leads outside to an orchard that comes back into the master bedroom that leads downstairs to a dungeon. And that's just like funny and exciting and to see at the end of the game. Because in Blueprints, you can't write a name over the rooms that you colored in. All of that like 100% goofiness of Castles is just missing from Blueprints. However, all of that said, Blueprints is still a solid game. And the only reason I'm really knocking it at all is because I do compare it to Castles of Mad King Ludwig when I play it. And the people I played with that had never played any game in the Mad King Ludwig series of games, and they immediately after finishing Blueprints said that they were going to buy Blueprints because they liked it so much. So who's this game for? If you're looking for a nice, relaxing, but still a verb and verb style game that gives you strategic choices, Blueprints is a no-brainer. If you would rather have a small box game, even though it comes in a big box, versus a more sprawling game from the other Mad King Ludwig titles, then Blueprints is for you. I mean, if you like coloring in your games, Blueprints is definitely an add to your collection because there's not many coloring games out there. If you want a verb and verb style game that's just different than all the others, Blueprints may be the right game for you. But if you're looking for a strategic Euro style game, I'd look at all the other Mad King Ludwig titles before Blueprints. That being said, Blueprints could be a really good starting point into the Mad King Ludwig series of games because it's not as strategic Euro-y as all the other Mad King titles are. So overall, if I'm the Mad King looking at the results, I'd say it's a solid design, but it doesn't excite me enough to be a gem. And don't get me wrong though, it's a good game. It's still going to be staying in my very limited collection that I keep. So that's it. It's a good game. Quick shout out to Jay and Bezier Games. Thank you for the review copy. And to everyone else, peace and stay cool.